Hello, everyone. I'm Donna Fiducia.
And I'm Don Neuen. And this is Cowboy Logic Radio.
Cowboys didn't dance, didn't wear designer shirts. When their hearts were filled with memories, their bodies filled with hurt. They would sit around the campfire and exchange a piercing glance. Back when the West was really wild, cowboys didn't dance.
Welcome back to Cowboy Logic Radio. I'm Donna Fiducia, along with Don Neuen. And our very special guest this half hour is somebody whom I had the pleasure of interviewing on numerous occasions when I was an anchor at the Fox News Channel, and that would be one Michelle Malkin. And Michelle, let me just introduce you formally. If people want to get reacquainted with you, you are a conservative blogger, a commentator, an author. I love your latest book, Sold Out: How High-Tech Billionaires and Bipartisan Beltway Crap Weasels Are Screwing America's Best and Brightest Workers. That's awesome. You can see her columns in a number of newspapers. She's the founder of conservative websites Twitchy and Hot Air. But now, folks, she is the host of a new show on Conservative Review TV, CRTV, Mark Levin's baby, called Michelle Malkin Investigates. Michelle, welcome to Cowboy Logic Radio.
Well, thank you for having me, Donna. It is so wonderful to be talking with you. You know, I never got to tell you this, but you were always one of my most favorite people at Fox News, and I'm just so glad that you have this outlet now, and it's a pleasure to talk to you and Don.
First of all, I need to know, though, and I appreciate that greatly, what exactly is a crap weasel?
Well, in large part, the species encompasses public officials who make a very ambitious set of promises and stand by and promote a certain set of principles to earn votes to get to Washington, D.C., and then immediately stab their own constituency in the back time and time again. Textbook crap weasel.
Yep, what I used to call the equal opportunity offenders. So tell us a little about your show on CRTV, Michelle Malkin Investigates.
Oh, I'm so excited about it. I am now offering 4 episodes of the program on CRTV.com right now to subscribers. And it is something that I've always wanted to do. I cut my teeth 25 years ago in daily newspaper journalism. And although a lot of people know me from, the 13 years that my tour of duty at Fox took me on, it's just a small portion of really what my career has been about. So I'm traveling across the country. I've spent the last several months going in depth on stories that I believe are the most important that I've told in my career, and they cover topics that a lot of people know me about from my books, immigration, from my columns, education, and from a lot of the work on all my platforms on the intersection of race, criminal justice, and left-wing progressivism.
That kind of sums it all up. Don's looking at me. You have a question?
No, I got to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that we have probably done, 250 Cowboy Logic radio shows. Mm-hmm. This one with Michelle Malkin is like the coolest thing ever.
It's the closest Don's ever going to get to hosting a Fox News Channel show, I guess.
I mean, there's all kinds of things about, conservative girls are the best, conservative girls are hot, Fox News babes, the whole 9 yards. But I got to tell you something. When I've got somebody here on a show that I created, Cowboy Logic Radio, where we've got Michelle Malkin, it doesn't get any better than this.
No.
I mean, Levin could not cap this. Okay?
Oh, wow.
I mean, maybe
that is a high threshold.
Maybe Kenny Kakady, but outside of Kenny, nobody else, Michelle. Thank you.
Well,
Thank you so much for being here with us.
Well, thank you. I have to say that what we have in common here is using alternative media, using your radio show that you created, you are the bosses of, to reach constituencies that I think are hungering for, actual news outside of narratives that are recycled over and over and over again on the 24/7 news cycle. And so the stories that I've covered at CRTV.com are stories that you're not going to see anywhere else. And I think the liberation that we feel, that you feel, to say what you have to say and not be filtered and not be censored and not be interrupted by incessant ads all the time, right when you're in mid-sentence, or have to scream over guests that are filling air with nothing.
Yeah, and you sit there and you say, "Let her talk for a change," because I can't make out what anybody's saying at this point.
And you know, you and I, Donna, we did that for a long time, and certainly there was a purpose served by that, and you know, for a long time, of course, Fox was at the forefront, at the vanguard of being quote unquote alternative media to the mainstream news, but they've fallen into such a formulaic pattern of what they think people want. And that was my frustration. And certainly, you know, I enjoyed my time yelling at liberals.
Mostly Geraldo.
That's exactly right. But then I think, you know, a lot of people now, especially in the aftermath of this historic election, are questioning what are considered, you know, the elites of journalism. And, you know, I've been saying that I think that this was a referendum not just on establishment politics, but on establishment media. So, you know, we're going to be looked down upon. I've always been condescended to. Juan Williams once said that I was not a real journalist since I was just a blogger. So, yeah, we're just bloggers. We're just podcasters. We're just alternative radio hosts. Fine, but, you know, you judge the work by the work, not by what medium it's broadcast in. So I just need to tell your listeners about the first two episodes, which, again, I really think this is the most important work I've done, on a former Oklahoma City police officer who was convicted of a number of horrible sounding sexual assault crimes a year ago this weekend. Yesterday was the one-year anniversary of the verdict in which Daniel Holtzclaw was sentenced to a whopping 263 years in prison. And when I first saw the headlines, I thought, well, geez, he must be guilty. Look at his sentence. He's going to be 3 centuries behind bars. And there were so many accusers. And a family friend of his who was a fan begged me to take a deeper, closer look at the case. And so that's what I did. I went to Oklahoma City several times. I'm in Oklahoma now because we screened the first 2 episodes in Daniel's hometown in Enid, and I'm appalled at the apathy and the incuriosity, Don and Donna, of the local media here to just ask a simple question, what if he didn't do it, and actually take a look at the evidence. We only had 3 people show up at the media press conference, and most of the local affiliates covered the so-called controversy about the documentary without having seen it. They quoted the police department, which isn't very happy about the questions we raised. They quoted the social justice mob that hates police and doesn't give a hoot about the actual evidence or lack thereof. They didn't even bother to contact us, and they didn't even bother to come to our screening.
Well, that's really the problem is they're lemmings. You're going to jump off the cliff, they all follow. No, it depends upon what Hillary Clinton says or the left, you know, whatever the narrative happens to be. And in your case, for this particular thing, it sounds like obviously anti-police and blue lives don't really matter. And that really is problematic.
It is. Now, I hope... we're already seeing changes in the culture and the climate when it comes to supporting law enforcement. I have to say, I was so moved when President-elect Trump, as one of his first gestures after being elected, reached out to the widow of a police officer who had been ambushed that first week after the election. And this context is so important in understanding not only Daniel Holtzclaw's case, but cases like this that are happening all across the country where social justice mobs are witch-hunting, law-abiding men and women in uniform who have dedicated their lives to protect and to serve, and in large part stoked by the rhetoric of these bloodthirsty Black Lives Matters agitators who really are just the heirs of anti-cop radical progressivism that dates back to the 1970s. I mean,
Saul Alinsky. Create the problem, everything else. I mean, it's so scary to me what's going on here. And the thing is, this is what's happening now as far as going after people like yourself who started, as, in print, and you're a blogger, like Juan Williams said. Big deal. The thing that gets me is you are the true journalists. This is what journalism really is. WikiLeaks, that's journalism. To sit there and vilify these people, they're doing the job the mainstream media is not doing.
Well, the mainstream media and some of these local stations in Oklahoma where you are, they're going to do everything they can to make you inconsequential because you don't fit into their narrative. You don't fit into their agenda. So the only way they can do this is by ignoring. The problem is everybody knows that the alphabet networks and the mainstream media has become irrelevant. And they're having a hard time. They're struggling with that fact. And quite frankly, they're in denial for it. Don't you agree?
Absolutely. I was just on Fox this weekend, and they've been playing the Hillary Clinton soundbite nonstop of her warning against fake news. And I mean, I feel like I'm a broken record here, but we have to keep reminding people that, just as Donna referenced Saul Alinsky, it is a tactic. They don't really care about fake news, and that these people know that the American people are smart enough to discern between, fake, phony Facebook stories that are being manufactured in Eastern Europe, and the fact that news that challenges and smashes their narratives and reveals and exposes their true political and ideological agenda is not fake at all. It's just inconvenient to them. And, this is a story that dates all the way back to, my early blogging days in the 2000s, in the mid-2000s, when it was bloggers who exposed Dan Rather and the faked documents. This wasn't merely some oopsie or oversight. I mean, they manufactured the news. And then to have Brian Williams,
and he's still around.
Brian, the fabricator Williams, who has vaulted back into an MSNBC anchor chair, which of course is where he belongs, but still, for him to be hopping onto the fake news is a catastrophe train. These people have no self-awareness.
No, they really don't. It's really scary. We're talking with Michelle Malkin.
Hold
folks.
on. I want to do that.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are speaking with the Michelle Malkin. I think it's important to put the word "the" in front of that. Don't you, Donna?
Is there more than one?
The.
Oh, okay.
Hey, and listen, I got to do a kind of a shameless plug here for CRTV.
Oh, thank you.
Here's the deal. When we were at CPAC, we were introduced at that point for the first time to Mark Levin TV. And we saw you running around, and that's where we met Kenny Kakady and Joe Kakady. And so we immediately subscribed. We subscribed to this at CPAC and started watching Levin TV. Couple of things you ladies and gentlemen out there that are listening to this need to know about Levin TV and now CRTV is that the production quality on this, in my opinion, exceeds the major networks. It is high-end work. And so, for the past year, roughly 8 months or whatever it's been, we've been enjoying Mark Levin TV. Now, the beauty of this, ladies and gentlemen, is that you are able to watch this whenever you want to watch it on demand. And you can go back and reference it. Now, this is something that Donna and I used to do with Glenn Beck's show back when Glenn Beck's show was really worth watching. Okay? And that's when, right when he got to Fox or whatever. But, we would record it and go back and study it. Ladies and gentlemen, you now have the opportunity to do that not only with Mark Levin, but the wonderful Michelle Malkin. And I could not be happier, Michelle.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Don. We are incredibly blessed to have this platform and really be able to spread our wings. And I am in awe of the production values on Mark's show, the high quality and caliber that viewers get every single night with him. And then with my episodes, 4 available now. We've got another 9 coming, so it's essentially like, a Netflix-style series of 13 original full-length episodes. And I have a studio in Denver with a top-notch crew and an executive producer, a showrunner, who I worked with on a documentary I did with Citizens United a couple of years ago called Rocky Mountain Heist. And my showrunner, Jason Meats, is one of the best in the business. We've got a lean but mean team of production staff and editorial staff. I've got 2 story producers, and then I play a very, very big role in writing scripts and having the support staff to put together the cruise for us where we're traveling. It's really incredible. And a couple of the other episodes that your listeners might be interested in, we've got a story on the effect of Black Lives Matter curriculum that's seeping into the public schools. And we talked a little bit about the anti-cop demagoguery that has festered for really the last 3 or 4 decades. And unfortunately, subsidized with taxpayer dollars, this stuff is being shilled in the schools. To me, it's like reason number 9,999,000 that you should be homeschooling your kids.
Yeah, exactly. Getting rid of Common Core. I was going to say, How about looking at George Soros? That would be a great topic. Let's see all the countries he's ruined and continents he's ruined.
Yes. And we actually look at the next generation George Soros in an upcoming episode, another shadowy liberal billionaire who's been basically buying up referendums and state legislatures and city councils across the country. His name is Tom Steyer.
Yep. The environmental Nazi. And how about Zuckerberg? I mean, Zuckerberg, and even Soros' son, who met with that creepy Tim Kaine, Hillary's vice presidential nominee. I mean, that's the other thing the mainstream media never looked at. If Hillary was sick, she was one heartbeat away from making that jerk president, and he is just super creepy. I'm sorry, I wouldn't let him babysit my kids.
I would build a wall if he was my neighbor. Not a fence, a wall.
Oh my gosh! Oh yeah, this is so enjoyable. I just love it because I love it when people tell it straight. And I still think that despite all of the 24/7 hour programming, that there isn't nearly enough of that. People are hungering for that, and that's why they tune into your show, and hopefully why they're going to be coming to CRTV.com as well. The last show that I wanted to mention just briefly is one on a topic that I've covered since I worked in L.A., immigration. And we go in depth into a progressive ripoff in Vermont. The poor rural taxpayers there have been sold a bill of goods on something called the EB-5 program. Progressive Bernie Sanders and that liberal Beltway barnacle, Pat Leahy, espoused this program.
More creepy people.
More creeps. There are so many creeps. I mean, we got to make America creep-free again.
Crap weasels. That's what they are, crap weasels.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So what they've done is they've taken this program that's run by both the State Department and with some DHS oversight or lack thereof, the program that basically peddles tens of thousands of green cards to wealthy foreign investors, mostly Chinese, who basically can buy their way into the country with phony promises of investing $500,000 into redevelopment projects. Guess what? It ends up benefiting a lot of real estate moguls and political cronies. This was the same program that Terry McAuliffe took advantage of as governor of Virginia with the green tech electric car company that didn't exist. And so they did the same thing in Vermont, and there's literally a pit to symbolize and both, materially represent the payoff for actual American taxpayers and workers.
Michelle, earlier you mentioned the Black Lives Matter thing getting into the school and the real anti-cop thing going on, and that you are starting to see a change in that for the better as far as the support for police, right? Yes. Okay.
Absolutely.
The past...
we went to the White House and CR had an event where we honored cops with Blue Lives Matter, light up the White House blue. Remember when the White House would light up
All the other colors except
right,
blue
for every
and
other
white.
progressive cause, but they wouldn't do it for all the police officers who were
Right.
ambushed, so we did it ourselves.
Awesome. Well, I got to tell you something. Donna may have mentioned when we were off the air that the company that I work for, Star Coaches out of Atlanta, it's a rock and roll bus company, and we took one of our buses out of service for 70 days, wrapped it ourselves. Basically what we did, Michelle, was we put our money where our mouth was. And we rolled this bus. We branded it under Trump for President branding. Got permission from Kellyanne, although we were not affiliated with the campaign in any way. Mm-hmm. We rolled this thing all over the state of Georgia for 70 days. And I have to tell you that the biggest item that we gave away, because we were giving away Trump signs and Trump paraphernalia and things like that, the one thing that stood out even more than Trump was that we were giving away Blue Lives Matter stickers. And we printed up 10,000 of these things.
Wow.
And we could not hold on to them.
Yeah, it really was
Everybody
great.
wanted a Blue Lives Matter sticker. Now, that's coming from the state of Georgia that's, clearly a red state. But I got to tell you, the support that we saw for Blue Lives was unbelievable.
It really was. And getting back to what you were just talking about too earlier, as far as the visas and all that other stuff, and Obama using our money to kind of push his agenda, everybody's all up in arms. Oh, Carrier, a $7 million tax break. Meanwhile, Obama spent $150 billion on renewable energy, 3 times more than any previous president, and we only saw a 1% increase in our overall power using renewables. And climate change is nowhere near the tops of anybody's list when they're worrying about where their next meal is coming. But Michelle Malkin, we only have a couple of minutes left. I want to get back into some more topics that I want to suggest for your show. How about this? Yeah. When will celebrities who said they're so upset about Donald Trump getting elected like Madonna, when are they going to leave the country? Let's see how many actually follow through on that one.
I love that. That would be a great episode to do. I remember in 2000 and 2004 when these people made these same empty promises. And, it's just so revealing. They won't practice what they preach. They enjoy all of the benefits of America and then run their mouths trashing and tearing down the greatness of this country. Of course, we now have these secession movements, and I'm all for it. I would love for basically all of California, except for a small band of Central Californians. Yes, go away, please.
Take Oregon and Washington State with you, and how about the Northeast, too, while you're at it? Vermont, Mr. Bernie Sanders. Okay, fine. But Michelle Malkin, again, your new show is Michelle Malkin Investigates on the new network, CRTV, which is Conservative Review TV. Michelle Malkin, it's so great to reconnect with you after I talked with you so many times and I was an anchor at the Fox News Channel. It's wonderful that you're on the roll again with your new CRTV show. We're so proud of you, so happy for you. Again, Michelle Malkin Investigates is one of the new shows on CRTV. Just go to their CRTV.com website. You can see all the information. And Michelle, thanks again for joining us here on Cowboy Logic Radio.
Come on, take my dark sunglasses. 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 Come on, take my dark sunglasses.
Check us out on the web at cowboylogic.us.
Back to Cowboy Logic Radio. I'm Donna Fiducia along with Don Neuen, and our very special guest this next segment are Diamond and Silk. Now, I was going to actually introduce them using the Wikipedia bio.
Donna, it can't be done. No.
But I'm glad we just spoke to them before we brought them on the air, and they're like, Heck no. Let's read.
Well, that's not exactly what they said, Don.
Well, that's true. But the main thing is what I'm doing is I'm actually, you guys, reading your bio off your Facebook page, which is
Twitter feed.
President Donald J. Trump's most outspoken and loyal supporters. Yep, we knew that too. Host of the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live, vloggers, I guess that's video bloggers, public figures and speakers, internet, radio, and TV personalities. Absolutely. Diamond and Silk, welcome to Cowboy Logic Radio.
Oh, thank you. And thank you for having us.
So I kind of missed you at the Fox News Channel. You came after me because you're all over there. But this is so much fun to me because you guys say it like it is. You leave nothing to be questioned, actually. So tell us a little bit about...
Well, you can say that we are not robotic talking heads. We're truth tellers. That's what we are.
Absolutely. And you are YouTube sensations. That's how you really got started. So tell us a little bit about what made you like Donald Trump. And we want to get, obviously, to your movie that's coming out, Dummycrats, the movie. But what really attracted you to Donald Trump?
He was a truth teller. He was saying things that nobody else would say. He mentioned how he wanted to secure the border, and we thought, ain't your house secure?
Isn't it?
Isn't the White House secure? Then America House should be secure.
That's right.
And then I'm going to bring back jobs, and we thought, well, why would our government outsource our jobs and leave the American people riding dirty with no jobs? That doesn't sound right. So he's right about that. And then I want to bring back spirit. And if you look at things now, look at it. He said he will be the best job creator. If you look at now, unemployment, especially among blacks, is at an all-time low. Jobs are coming back to this country because remember what Obama told everybody. He said these jobs will never come back. So he gave people food stamps and the Obama phone.
That's right.
So you have a Coke and a smile and a nice day because the jobs ain't coming back. So now you have somebody like Donald Trump, President Trump, that comes along, a businessman. He's not a career politician. And he said, oh, these jobs are going to come back.
Right.
Yeah, I'm going to be the best jobs creator. Look at the economy. Look at the economic opportunity there for people. If you want to become an entrepreneur, you can. And he's bringing back spirit. Even though people may feel uncomfortable with it because some truth has to be told. You got the left, they're uncomfortable. If you tell the truth, they want to ostracize, criticize, and stigmatize you. But we're going to bring back spirit in this country.
You're already doing it. Ladies, I am a very happily married man. I have horse crap in my boots as we speak right now. I love the two of you all.
Oh, thank you. We love you more.
I am so grateful that you are using the voice that God has given you guys. I am so grateful for that.
Wow.
Thank you.
I'm going to tell you, if you ever want to make God laugh, tell him your plans.
Yeah.
We had no plans for this. We didn't even realize what was happening. The only thing we knew is this is how we felt. This is what we said. This is what we meant. We just didn't realize other people felt the same way.
Yeah.
We were sometimes speaking for other people because, when Obama was in office, everything had to be politically correct. You had to say it the right way. If you didn't, you were criticized for it. They stigmatized you. They made you a racist, homophobe, misogynist. They called you all of these nasty names and painted you back in the corner. Another thing I want people to realize that back in the day, we were lifelong Democrats.
That's right.
We were conditioned to vote that way. But we found that just because you black, it didn't mean you had to vote Democrat.
That's
and
right.
what we did, we switched our party to Republican back in 2015, September of 2015, to vote for Donald Trump. Not only did we switch our party, we knew other people felt this way, and we started something called the Ditch and Switch Now movement to push these people to the polls so that they can go out and vote for Donald Trump, and it worked.
That's right.
Let me ask you this. Your family, you guys grew up in the South much like I did. I grew up in Atlanta. You guys grew up in North Carolina, right? Okay. Where does your family sit politically? Are they agreeing with you? Have you shown them the light? Or is Thanksgiving dinner kind of a weird moment?
Well, Thanksgiving dinner is fine because when I went to my daddy and I said, Daddy, I really like this Donald Trump. And so my daddy, he said, well, wait a minute. I ain't never voted Republican before, but he kept watching him and listening to him, and he made sense. So my father, my parents, mother and father, who were lifelong Democrats, switched their party to Republican, and they love our president.
Right.
They love the direction that he is taking this country. They love the fact that he is really working for all Americans. They're seeing things that they've never seen before up under a Republican president.
That's right.
They love it.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what really gets me is a rising tide raises all boats. They sit there and they say trickle-down economics doesn't work. They attacked Reagan. I'm old enough to remember Ronald Reagan, and you know, he did so much for the economy. Donald Trump is doing better in just 2 years, and he's done it for everybody. He's done it just like he said, and the mainstream media, of which I was formerly a part of, and it's an embarrassment now. They refuse to report the real news.
That's why we call them fake news.
That's right.
You know, it used to be free press, but it's like it's controlled press, and they're trying to use that press to control the masses. And what's happening is it's not working. People are finding other sources to get their news, so they go through social media. Well, if you notice, if you look at social media now, they've banded together. Well, you won't find the news on here. So if you are reporting the news and you're not reporting what they want you to report, what the mainstream media want you to report, they're going to purge your account. They're going to silence your voices. So it's all a big setup. But how did we let this happen? How did conservatives let this happen? How did Republicans let this happen, where we have everything owned by the left wing and we have absolutely nothing, and they can band together and stick together to silence voices? How did we let that happen?
That's right.
Well, exactly. And that I wanted to ask you how things are going for you two with regard to social media, because most of us, myself included, sat and watched you testify in front of Congress. And
well, you know, we're still being censored.
And can I just also say that we was not even aware that we was being watched when we was testifying before Congress. We was just there speaking our truth, talking about what was happening to us on social media. And after everything was over, that's when we realized the whole world just saw this go down, and we didn't even realize
it. We're so naive.
Well, you're unsafe to the community. It's pretty obvious.
Well, we've got a friend here in Atlanta, and I don't want to keep this segment, this interview, on the race issue. But we've got a good friend that's in the Atlanta area that's running for state senator, I think, or state house. She did try. She went up against for the U.S. Congress. She lost. But she's a beautiful black woman that's become a friend of ours over the past 3, 4, 5 years. And we were sitting with her at a wedding reception not long ago in Atlanta, and I told her, I said, let me tell you something. You are the biggest asset to the Republican Party, hands down. Not me, not Donna. You are. You're a lady, and you're a black lady.
Wow.
And
you're a conservative.
Wow.
You are the biggest asset, and I say that to you two ladies. You two ladies are the biggest asset to the Republican Party that there is. Hands down, period. You're also the biggest threat to the Democrat Party and to the government plantation.
Wow. You know what? I believe you. And listen, don't be afraid to talk about race. We need to keep talking about it until we become colorblind. We need to keep talking about it until we realize that we are one race, and that's the human race, and all of us is part of the majority because we're all Americans. We do need to talk about that, so don't shy away from that. Listen, we didn't know we was a threat until they started trying to silence us. If you look, they try to silence us. They try to downplay our role. They try to call us characters, a minstrel show. We've heard them say things like that because what they do is they want to destroy your very existence, character assassinate you when you come out and tell the truth. Look at what they're doing to Kanye West. He go up there, he talks to the president about fathers not being in their home. Jobs need to come back here.
Right.
Economic opportunity, how we can start making our products here in the United States. And everybody criticize him and stigmatize ostracize him for doing that. They do these Willie Lynch tactics to try to destroy him because he's very influential among the community, among black people. And then once they've destroyed him, other black people get scared and not want to speak out or not want to walk off of what we call that Democratic plantation.
Yep. You could not be more accurate. And the thing is, we've got a host on our network that has a show. His name is Stan Levy. I went to high school with him here in Atlanta, and he's got a 2-hour show weekly called Black Man Thinking. And he has been preaching the exact same thing, the same topics that Kanye was talking about in the Oval Office this past week. And he gets ostracized. They call him an Uncle Tom. They call him a sellout. They call him a, slave to the master and all this other crap. But the thing is, what he is a black man that's actually thinking, just like I'm a white man that's actually thinking. And
there is nothing wrong with thinking for yourself. With speaking for yourself. You know, back in 2015 when Diamond and Silk came on the scene, we told them, you can think for yourself. You don't need anybody spoon-feeding you a narrative. You can feed your own self.
That's right.
You know, we would tell them that. And the more they hate, the more we educate to let them know. We, as a race of people, can no longer vote for a system that keeps handing us crumbs. We can't vote for a system that uses us. They only use us when they need a vote. Look at Hillary Clinton and her hot sauce.
That's right.
All crooked coming in the black neighborhoods with the hot sauce and singing the old spirituals.
And Joe Biden, they're going to put you all back in chains.
Yeah, it was nauseating.
Okay, but wait, can I just get this here? Let me just say this here. Joe Biden said they're going to put you all back in chains. But how would you know, Joe? Because your party represents the party of slavery, party of KKK, the party of the Jim Crow day.
Right.
Well, for years on this radio show, I have been beating the drum saying that black Americans, my fellow Americans that happen to be black, have outlived their usefulness to the Democrat Party.
That's right.
And they
because the Democrat Party think that they have a right, a sense of entitlement, like they own black people and they own the vote. Those are the left-leaning liberals, the Democrats, and that's because they are the party of slavery. That's why they feel like they own black people. And it's time for black people to wake up and pay attention. And I'm not going to tell you to walk away. I'm going to tell you to run and run like HELL off of that Democratic plantation. Switch your party to Republican, to vote for a Republican, especially in these midterm elections.
Well, and the thing is, Malcolm X said it so eloquently a couple of weeks before he was killed, and that was, if you are throwing your support behind a political party that represents 2/3 of power, and they're not doing anything for you, you're not only a political chump, but you're a traitor to your own race. And I'm paraphrasing that.
But you see how they had to take him out?
Of course.
That was too much. Can't talk like that. And I think I'm very happy that you see people speaking out. You know, I say Diamond and Silk gave people permission to speak out.
That's right.
Speak out. Because we started a revolution back in 2015 when we started telling people to get off that Democrat plantation. And now what you see, when you see people coming out now and speaking out boldly, you see the evolution. People are evolving. People are seeing this thing. You got a president now that's bringing in jobs. You can pick and choose what job. You have a president that's sitting at the table saying, whoa. Okay, we're going to change this prison system. We're going to make it where when you get out of jail, you're going to be able to go back into the household. You're going to have you a good job where you can feed your family and get back into the swing of things instead of going back to prison. That's what you're going to do. When I look at Donald Trump, I see a civil rights president, somebody that cares about black people. And the reason why I say that is because you got the Al Sharptons, you got the Jesse Jacksons, you got the NAACP, the Black Congressional Caucus, and all of these other programs that's supposed to be for the advancement of black people. And the only thing they have done was have exploited, hoodwinked, and bamboozled black people. And that is the truth. The only time you see an Al Sharpton is when somebody done got killed by a white officer, because he can exploit somebody's pain and get paid for it. And I'm tired of being used by our own people. And it's call it out. It's time to call it out, because our race of people are not moving forward. We are stuck in some kind of, I don't know what, this whirlwind that we can't get out of, listening to people that claim to only worried about their own interests.
Woo! Preach it, sister.
Amen, sisters.
Hey, look, this is about the time in the interview where Donna does a reintroduction of the guest. I'm here to tell you that if anybody that's listening to this radio show doesn't realize that they are listening to the stellar Diamond and Silk, they have been in a coma since 2015. There is no need to introduce you ladies at all. Because, A, you need to patent just the audio that you guys exude.
Oh, my God.
Because it's absolutely nobody can do what the two of you ladies do when you're combined. It is.
Wow, that's why they call us truth tellers.
So we're going to say to our beloved listeners is right now you are being graced by the presence of Diamond and Silk. And I want to share with you ladies something that that Donna and I did. This would have been 2013 probably, 2013 or 2014. We were at the South Carolina Tea Party Coalition Convention in beautiful Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And there was a guy named Cash, I only remember his last name, that was running for Senate.
Against Lindsey Graham.
And they were all going up against Lindsey Graham, and they didn't have a snowball in hell's chance because they didn't have the money. But this guy's name was Cash, and I was listening to him talk, standing at his little table. And I said, I'm standing there in Wrangler jeans and a cowboy hat, and I tap him on the shoulder, and I said, I got a question for you. What is on your agenda that you are going to do to bring Black South Carolinians back to the Republican Party where they belong? And he ignored me. He turned away and started talking to his little buddy again. So I tapped him on the shoulder again. And I said, wait a minute, I guess you didn't realize I was asking you a question. What is in your platform that you're going to do to bring Black Americans that live in South Carolina back to the Republican Party where they belong? And they can feel belonged. He ignored me a second time. Now, I'm a cowboy.
Okay.
At that point, I was getting a little irritated. He was like a burr in the saddle. So I tapped him on the shoulder again, and I said, look, man, clearly you're not going to answer my question. The answer is standing 6 feet away from you. His name is K. Carl Smith. And he's the president of the Frederick Douglass Republicans. I said, you don't have a snowball in hell's chance of winning unless you figure out a way to bring Black Americans back into the Republican Party.
And I would venture to say Donald Trump has done more in 2 years than anyone. Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson
Without
in the
talking
last
about
50.
It. Trump didn't get up there and talk about what he was going to do to unite fellow Americans, regardless of religion and skin color. He just did it.
Yep.
He just did it.
He just did it.
That's right.
And I love the fact that he has an open door policy. I want to hear what you have to say, and I'm glad that he bypassed all of the organizations. I'm going directly to the people. I'm taking my message directly to the people. Now, I've never in my lifetime seen anything like this, you all. But I absolutely love the fact that he is president. He is not a career politician. He is a businessman. He run it like a business. And look at how everything trickles down to where it helps Americans.
Yeah, it helps all Americans despite the color of your skin. And that's the reason why we're being featured in a movie called Democrats.
Yep, tell us about the movie.
The hypocrisy on the left, it is real. And what Diamond and Silk do is we show you directly what's going on. We uncover to show average American people what's been happening to these communities, these Democrat-ran communities. When you have the different congressmen and congresswomen against this president and the agenda and the Americans, we go in to show you why. Well, They want to sit on their high horse and talk about impeach 45, but when you go into their district, you see why we need to impeach them. They live in one of them live in a $4.3 million
That's Maxine
home.
Waters, right?
That's Maxine Waters.
On a $175,000 salary, she has a $4.3 million home.
Outside of her district, right?
Yep.
It's outside of the district she represents, but the people that she represents, supposed to represent, live in tents within her district. So what I don't understand is, how is she still being elected? We show you how people don't even know that this lady is even supposed to be over their district. People don't know. So we're waking the masses of people up and letting them see what's actually going on. So we want you to stop what you're doing right now. If you can, go to dummycrashthemovie.com, dummycrashthemovie.com to get your tickets. It's a one-night-only premiere, October the 15th. One-night-only premiere, October the 15th. Go and get your tickets, because Diamond and Silk, we're going to be bringing you the truth with the proof. We're going to be giving you the facts, and we're not holding nothing back. We're going to be giving it to you straight from the gate.
Well, and I'm also under the impression, by reading the articles about this, that after this premiere, after this one-night showing, it's going to be out on a DVD. I'm sure it's going to be all over YouTube. And we encourage all of the listeners to pick those things up.
Yeah, wake up the undecided voters. And the movie starts with, you might be offended if you're a liberal, especially if you're Robert De Niro. I love it.
What a puke.
But you got a sense of humor. See, Dinesh D'Souza, we've had him on the show. We love him. But he's very fact-based and very serious. Dummycrats the movie, and find it again at dummycratsthemovie.com. Get your tickets. You attack the left with a huge amount of personality and humor, which you guys have naturally. You're wonderful.
It was so easy to make because we're such naturals. So it wasn't us acting. It was just us being ourselves. We were able to be ourselves and do it. But I think this is something that everybody should see. And I don't care what side of the aisle you're on.
That's right.
Whether you lean left, right, in the middle. See the movie, because right now it is up to us to hold Congress accountable. And if you're not doing right by we the people, then we the people are going to have to vote you out.
That's right.
They're going to have to understand you don't work for illegal aliens. You work for Americans. We Americans pay your salary, not illegal aliens. We pay your salary. So you're going to do what we want you to do, and if not, you're going to have to go.
All right. The elections that are coming up, midterm elections, I'm 57 years old, so I'm a lot older, I would assume, than both of you guys. You don't disclose your age.
Yeah, don't disclose your age.
All right?
Like Newsweek asked you.
In my 57 years of life, I think that this is the most critical midterm election that's coming up. Now, I think
absolutely it is. You look at, go ahead.
Well, I think it's safe to say that the four of us are all going to go out, and we're going to exercise our privilege to vote, and we're going to vote Republican, and we're going to do what we need to do. And we all pray to God that we hang on to the House and the Senate. Now, let me ask you guys this. What do you think will happen in those elections, and how devastating will it be if we lose the House?
I don't even want to think. I don't even want to think. You know what? You never get what you want, but you always get what you think and feel. So I'm going to think a red tsunami. That's what I'm going to think. I cannot imagine it flipping. And the reason why, when we see what just happened to Kavanaugh, what happened with Kanye West, all of the stuff, the violence that's going on in the streets, how you have people, high-profile people telling you to go out and commit violence against their fellow Americans. Oh, you need to be voting red, vote right, and vote Republican. Mm-hmm. That should tell you. So I can't even imagine it going the other way. I am going to focus on everything turning red. And I want to urge everybody, go to the polls. Go vote. Your vote is your voice. Your voice is your power. You're going to have to use it, but you're going to have to vote red. When you look at the trajectory of our country and how these left-leaning liberals are trying to change everything, they're going to make you guilty, and you got to figure out how to prove yourself guilty. I mean, how to prove yourself innocent. They're going to take and they want to rewrite the Constitution when they need to take and reread the Constitution. Look at the things that they're trying to do in our country. When you see that, and if you don't feel comfortable with that, you need to go vote red and vote Republican.
And see Dummycrats the movie by going to dummycratsthemovie.com. Hashtag walk away is the real big thing that you're trying to say in that movie, and we love you for it. Diamond and Silk on a mission to expose the left. Huge Trump supporters, huge video bloggers. You've seen them on all the news channels. Thank you guys so much for joining us here on Cowboy Logic Radio. And we'll be looking for Dummycrats the Movie at dummycratsthemovie.com.
Thank you, and thank you for having us.
Our pleasure.
I feel like passing an offering plate around right now because this has been an angelic moment for me, ladies. Thank you, Donna.
Oh, wow.
We got to take it home.
And that pretty much wraps up the show at cowboylogic.us. We'll see you next week, same bat time, same bat channel. And in the meantime, God bless America.
If you keep a call, man, that's your right. We all see our own faults shaded away.
Check us out on the web at cowboylogic.us.
Hello, everyone. I'm Donna Fiducia.
And I'm Don Neuen, and this is Cowboy Logic Radio.
Cowboys didn't dance, didn't wear designer shirts. When their hearts were filled with memories, their bodies filled with hurt. They would sit around the campfire and exchange a piercing glance. Back when the West was really wild, cowboys didn't dance.
Welcome back to Cowboy Logic Radio. I'm Donna Fiducia, along with Don Neuen. And our very special guest this hour is Edward Cage. Now, Edward, if he's not a household name for
Hold on.
success... What?
I'm going to interrupt.
Yeah?
Edward Cage is an individual that when I grow up, I want to be exactly like Edward Cage. This guy is such a huge inspiration to me. He's a role model. He's what defines gentlemen. You are such an inspiration, man. And I'm not blowing smoke, but Donna would have given you this generic, normal introduction. And I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, this individual is somebody you need to find on Facebook. You need to follow him, and you need to let him educate you. And with that, Donna, I will let you complete your sterile introduction of the Edward Cage.
Yes, absolutely. Damn, Edward, I don't know how I'm going to top that one, but let's just start by you giving us a little bit about your background, because you were in the Nation of Islam when you were young and impressionable. You were definitely on that other side, and you have done, I guess as they say in the business, a 180 by yourself, really with nobody helping you.
Yes, yes. First of all, Don, let me thank you for such a warm welcome. But yes, I grew up in North St. Louis. You know, my mom and dad both was, you know, the average mom and dad. You know, not much fantastic or anything about them. You know, they was just struggling parents. I dropped out of high school at the age of 16. You know, I had my first son when I was 16 years old. My wife was 17. And, you know, going through the streets, you know, I sold drugs and I hung with really, really bad people. And I participated and did a lot of horrible things. I just thank God that I never was caught, you know. And I often tell people, once I was able to read past the third grade level, I never voted Democratic again. And a lot of folks, they are so mad and so angry and upset at me because they're wondering, how can you think like that for yourself? How is it that you can call yourself a Republican? You know, I put on Facebook the other day that I had a older cousin to call me, and this person, they were so ignorant to listen to what they said. They said, after all the things the Democratic Party has did for our people, how can you be a Republican when they try to stop civil rights? I was so blown away, all I could do was hang up. But this is what I had to come back. And a lot of times folks, they think that, oh, I had to go to some fancy school or do this. I did all of this on my own, just simply reading. And once I began to read, one of the first things I began to do was read my history. And at that moment, I was angry. I was working a whole bunch of dead-end jobs, and I got swept up by a bunch of brothers from the Nation of Islam. I remember they swept up on me on the corner of Natchez Bridge and Kings Highway in North St. Louis, and I began to go to the meetings, and over the next couple of years, you know, I was loving it. I was proud to say that I was part of something, but as I began to work in this affluent neighborhood, all of the rhetoric that I was hearing from them and all of the hate that I was hearing growing up about whites hating blacks, I wasn't seeing it. I was seeing that blacks and whites were sitting down and eating. Heck, they was even eating off of each other's plates. They were working together. I never felt threatened. I never felt like someone wanted to hang me from a tree. I don't know no black person that ever said that, yeah, a KKK member burnt the cross in my yard. See, one thing that I refuse to do is that I refuse to let something that happened so long ago hold me down or hold me back. It shouldn't have that much power over us. Yes, we know slavery happened. We know that it was horrible. And the good thing about America was that we changed. See, we are a country that is moving forward. And the only reason that we was moving forward is because people realized that, hey, this is not right. But we're going to move forward. But we also had people that felt like, hey, this is right. We're going to figure out how we're going to keep it. And one of the biggest groups to be part of that was the Democratic Party. But see, some people, they will automatically think that, oh, it's the Republicans. See, one thing that I had to realize that I went out and had 3 kids by myself. It was I that went out and made all these bad mistakes. And I was so glad that the Republican Party was there to embrace me and tell me, look, you made these mistakes, man, deal with it. Go out and make something of yourself.
Exactly. Responsibility. You know, I always grab that line from Austin Powers. Responsibility. It's a beautiful thing, baby. You know, and why does the black community at this point not get it? How much do they have to be, downtrodden? Used with this? I mean, I understand voting for Barack Obama. You know, I mean, it's got to be a proud thing. I understand that. But in general, since Lyndon Johnson and the Great Society and this second Great Society, blacks have never done worse under 2 presidents than they have under 2 presidents, and that would be Lyndon Johnson and Barack Obama. And they haven't done any better under one president, and that would be the evil Ronald Reagan, you know? And nobody sees that yet. It just drives me crazy. But you, Edward Cage, learned to read at age 20. You taught yourself how to read at age 20. That alone has to tell everybody how the public education system is failing, especially in the minority communities.
You know, when you look at towns like Baltimore, which is one of the latest cities to just have, you know, went up in flames, what people don't realize in Baltimore is that everything that's going on in Baltimore is Democrats and their liberal agenda. You have Baltimore mayor, black. The previous mayor, black. You know, but she was embezzled in 2010, and she couldn't finish her term. But they had a white mayor for a moment, you know.
That's O'Malley.
What's his name? O'Malley, yeah.
He's the jerk
O'Malley,
that's running for president.
President, you know. But then they had the city council. They consist of 15 people, all Democrats. Mm-hmm. The council president, black. Democrats have had control over Baltimore for the last 50 years. Every program, policy, initiative, or school curriculum that ever existed in Baltimore was all enacted by liberal Democrats. Now, the messed up thing about that is that they were spending $15,000, over $15,000 per person, and Baltimore has some of the worst education system in the country. If you can't educate a child for $15,000, then something needs to, first of all, you need to close the school down.
Yeah.
$15,000. Do you know what I could have done with $15,000 with teaches my kids. My kids would be freaking quantum physics professors now. And on top of that, Lord knows what I would have become trying to teach them that. But my point is that blacks have become so used to a system that's selling them. They are starting to accept when things come trickling in. Well, our kids are graduating at 80%. Big deal they graduating at 80%, but they read at a third grade level. Mm-hmm. This is one of the reasons why, when I began to read, one of the first things I began to do was read my history. And after what I read about my history, this is one of the reasons why I'm such against affirmative action. I absolutely hate affirmative action. One reason I hate is because I understand all the things that our people went through so that we can learn how to read and write like white people. We didn't want a slanted scale. We wanted to be taught the exact same way that they was taught, not so that we can go around as some of the blacks say to talk white. It wasn't about that. It was that so that we can be respected and so that we can compete against jobs. When you teach not only black kids, but when you teach any kid at a slant level, it doesn't do them any good. They're not able to go out and compete in a global market. It's not just about the country no more. It's a global market now. Our kids can't do that. Not only black kids, but American kids are falling behind in everything now. I mean, but, we got the Kardashians, they're making a bunch of money, selling whatever they're selling, a bunch of perversion, but it works.
Hey, Edward, speaking of Kardashian, I read over this past weekend while at the grocery store, Kim Kardashian's rear end weighs 140 pounds.
She gained 65 pounds with this pregnancy.
But
and
her
it's all in the
rear
front
end,
and in the back.
Her rear end weighs 140 pounds. That is magnanimous.
Yeah, but we're still talking about it. That's terrible.
And I probably shouldn't say this, but everyone has been talking about Kim Kardashian's butt since she did the little porno flick with little Ray J. But I grew up around women whose booties was just as big, and it was norm. So I don't see what the big deal about it is. It doesn't. When I see her, it's not something that I focus on because I'm so used to growing up with. I have a wife with a big butt that I love. I'm not blown away by something like that.
Wait a minute, we've got a Cowboy Logic. Hold on, we've got a Cowboy Logic alert update. Kim Kardashian's rear end has now increased to the gross vehicle weight of 160 pounds. We'll keep you updated on the weight of Kim Kardashian's gross vehicle weight of her rear end throughout the rest of this program. Back to you, Donna.
Y'all know what? I didn't even know what that lady was saying for about.
Wait a minute, we've got another Cowboy Logic alert, Oops. And that is that Kim Kardashian's rear end has increased the gross vehicle weight. It is now 172 pounds. Back to you, Donna.
Gosh, why do I feel I'm singing to myself that song? I like big butts, and I cannot lie.
Yeah,
stop. All right, this is another Cowboy Logic alert. Yes,
that's right, ladies and gentlemen. We've just weighed in gross vehicle weight of Kim Kardashian's rear end, and it's up to 192 pounds. 192 and still growing. It's multiplying like rabbits, ladies and gentlemen. Back to you, Donna.
She jumps in the pool. It's going to cause a flood.
Over in a minute.
Yeah, really. Okay, so come on.
On a serious note, I have a question for you, Edward. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, our guest is not Kim Kardashian. It is Edward Cage, a man that I want to be like if and when I grow up. Edward Cage, question for you. As you are milling through the streets of St. Louis and you are speaking to your brothers and sisters that are black, I want to know, especially those that are still supporting the Obama administration and regime, do they have any type of a response or an opinion with regard to the massive number of immigration individuals that are coming into our country through immigration that will, without a doubt, take their jobs away from them?
First of all, I wish I had a bigger platform in the black community. Not just me, but other black conservatives. But the liberal, they're so used to demonizing us and calling us Uncle Toms and sellouts till, no one wants to hear the other side of the story. And see, this is one thing that I didn't grow up knowing. When two men had a disagreement, at least they came and they listened to each other. They may disagree afterwards, but they still walked away listening to now we only listen to one side of the story. And these pastors that we have, these black pastors, are responsible for a lot of the ignorance that goes on in the black community. What if some of these black pastors was to invite their politician friends that I have seen come into the black church and commandeer the pulpit? What if they was to get up there and start talking about immigration?
Yeah.
They're not going to do that because why? It will start waking up the people. See, a lot of the African-American communities don't realize that when you have 11 million undocumented immigrants, a lot of them are lower workers. They don't, no skills. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's no skills. They're going to be, housekeeping, the filling stations, low-end jobs. So they're coming out of a lot of African-American jobs that will usually be taken up by them. And when you have that going on, that should cause an outrage because people should be like, hold on. I was born and raised here. I paid my taxes here. Why are you allowing illegals to come in and take our jobs? And then I'm voting for you? See, these are the things that Democratic politicians should be telling their people, but they're not going to do that because they want 97% of the vote. And the black pastors, they're not going to do it neither because they enjoy, oh, yes, we have Senator such and such coming to our church this week, and the church get full. I've been into church services like that. The church get full. Everybody from the neighborhood go in, and they hear Senator such and such, and he's like, yeah, well, we're fighting in D.C. and make sure you get your part of the pie.
Yeah. Don't they realize eventually that pie is going to run out?
Well, don't they realize that part of the pie that they got is controlled by somebody else? Somebody's food is spoon feeding you.
Yeah.
My part of the pie is me going out on it. See, one reason that one thing that clicked in my head was that being on welfare all of my life, I realized that someone was telling me where I can live, how much to spend, what I can spend my money on. That's control. Yeah. I don't want nobody like that having control over me. And when I remember walking away from that type of system, my own father came against me. Like, oh, you shouldn't do that, man. That's gonna take food out the family mouth. And I'm like, but Dad, this ain't, not only is this not right, this is not what I don't want to teach my son. See,
this is what got me. It's true, because this is what got me about Herman Cain when he was running. I love Herman Cain. His big thing was, yes, I got off the government plantation. Man, mainstream Democrats and mainstream media don't want to hear that.
They don't want to hear anything. They don't want to hear anything. Hey, Edward, are they political chumps or are they traitors to their race? Which is it?
Yeah.
Who is political chumps?
Well, that's what...
If you support...
That's what Malcolm X said.
Yeah. If you support a political party that controls 2/3 of the government and they don't do anything for you, then you're either a political chump or a traitor to your own race. 1964, Malcolm X. When are the black brothers and sisters going to start figuring it out? He gave them the answer in 1964.
And he was dead a couple weeks after making that statement.
I read Malcolm X's book. Matter of fact, it was the first book I ever read, and it took me 6 months to read that book. A lot of times I had to go over and read it over and over again just to understand what it was saying. And what folks don't realize about Malcolm X is that he's seen what was going on in the black community. Not only did Malcolm X see it, but so did Dr. Martin Luther King, and they spoke out against it. They spoke out mainly because they wanted black men to be the ruler of their family and their community and their being. They did not believe in the government spoon feeding everybody. They wanted you to go out and take care of your own self. But unfortunately, when you talk about Malcolm X, a lot of people, he stood behind the window to watch out and make sure that the big bad white man didn't come and kill him. He didn't fear the white man.
No.
He was out looking for his brothers and sisters that was trying to kill him. Well, see, this is what you don't hear in the media. When you go and you open up the history books in the black schools, they make it seem like Malcolm X rolled around Harlem making sure that the white man don't come kill him. That's not who he was watching for.
No.
He was making sure his own brothers, because he came off the plantation.
You don't hear anything about black youth unemployment right now at 25%, the worst since really in history. And what gets me is unless you play basketball, or unless you rap, then it's okay to come off the government plantation.
That is so racist.
Well, I'm sorry, but that's pretty much the mindset. Am I wrong here? I can't say that, though. Right. I mean, I can't go out and say that. Someone like yourself, man, you can.
Unemployment is so bad in the black community right now amongst teenagers, they don't even recognize it.
Yeah.
I get so tired. Here in St. Louis, every week I'm starting to hear, we having a job fair and such. Bring your resumes and dress for success. See, these are trinkets that the Democrats and liberals throw at them. Oh, and they like to say things like, well, at least they doing something, and at least they doing this, and at least. When are we going to ever stop falling for the least? If we see that something is not working, it's time to change. It's time to start listening to somebody else that may have a clue in what's going on. Or listen to somebody else that, okay, well, such and such looks successful, but let me hear his side of the story. When I go out and I do get the opportunity to speak to young black kids, I don't try to get them to vote Republican. I try to get them to just listen to a different side. Mm-hmm. And I am confident that once we get them to listen to our side of the story, it may not get them to go out and vote Republican the next cycle, but it'll get them to thinking. And see, when we get to thinking, then that's when we have, because this generation is it's kind of like a cause and effect. Because our older generation, they fell for this system 25, 30, 40, and 50 years ago, and we are the fruit of it. I get so tired of people running around talking about Black Lives Matter. I was at a Planned Parenthood yesterday protesting. We out there. It was between 500 and 600 people out there in St. Louis. I didn't see Black Lives Matter. 1,800 black babies are aborted every single day. What was them puppets at? What was them clowns at? I didn't see them marching at not now, but not now. Abortion clinic in the country. I didn't see them nowhere. But at the same time, you have them wanting to march up and burn and tear up and loot their own community because a cop shot a criminal. One of the same criminals, they go out and hold their own neighborhood hostage, like terrorists, drug dealers, gangbangers. But don't nobody do nothing about them as they run up and down the street. Our women and children, they can't go outside, not because they're afraid of some white cop spraying the block. They're afraid of some kid with an AK-47 come spraying the block and miss everybody because they're not properly trained and who they shoot. In Ferguson last week, a 9-year-old baby was laying in her bed doing her homework. In her home, the safety of her home, some thug trying to shoot and kill somebody else, a bullet went into the window and shot her and killed her. But did you see Black Lives Matter marching? Yeah, they're starting to have little rallies, but I'm so tired of them little rallies because they're irrelevant. They don't work anymore. That's just as worse as them marching across Selma Bridge a year ago with Oprah Winfrey. That's over. Civil rights movement is over. We won. It's time to figure something else out. How are we going to stop this? And the only way that we're going to stop what's going on in the black community is first turn it back to God. Second is to get rid of the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party has absolutely decimated the black community. And I am personally getting so tired of them Uncle Tom, back house Negroes from the Congressional Black Caucus, the puppets over at the Black Lives Matter. They run their silly, ignorant butts all over the country, making it seem like we're under attack by black people. How many blacks was actually killed by police officers last year? About 135, maybe?
You get that in one weekend in Chicago. You get that in one weekend in Chicago.
I mean, how many you got in Chicago a year? I'm sorry.
Exactly.
Go ahead.
No, Edward, I want you to hold that. We got to take a break. I want to talk about Louis Farrakhan calling for all whites to be killed, the Black Lives Matter, as you say, and we're going to come back right after the break and get to all this and the latest that you're seeing right in your backyard in the St. Louis Ferguson area. We're talking with Edward Cage on Cowboy Logic Radio.
Check us out on the web at cowboylogic.us.
We're back with Edward Cage, who is a black conservative by choice. Learned how to read at age 20. He actually taught himself to read. Before that, he was taken in by the Nation of Islam and had a childhood that he's not too proud of. But we are proud of you right now, Edward Cage, not because you are a Republican and a conservative and a black man, but because you are thinking. And we have a show Monday nights and a Tuesday morning called Black Man Thinking, hosted by Stan Levy. You are another black man thinking. And you know what, like you say, when you talk to people around your neighborhood, I'm not trying to say become a conservative, become, a black Republican, but just open up your eyes. And we can't say that. Someone like yourself can. And how do you react now to someone like Louis Farrakhan, who is, playing the race card big time now, because he has the White House behind him, quite frankly. And I find it appalling because, to me, as a white person, I feel that this president has turned race relations back at least a decade, if not 30 or 40 years, quite frankly. A generation, I think.
What people don't understand about Farrakhan is that he is probably one of the most brilliant men I have ever heard speak. He is very intelligent, but behind all of that is that he's very manipulative, and he's very cunning. And what he does is that he, like most Democrats and liberals, they use raw emotions to gather people up. See, when you don't have a very strong man in the home, or you're not a man yourself, you tend to get riled up on emotions. I often talk to my wife and my daughters about the emotions. Get your emotions up under control and blah, 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 blah. Because I show very little emotion with dealing with problems. And Farrakhan and Democrats and liberals, they know that. So they go out and they stir the pot. They make it seem like cops are just blowing black boys out of the sky every single day, and up in arms. We're going to go out and we're going to kill every white person. I'm going to tell you what. If you got the KKK, the Nation of Islam, and the New Age Black Panther Party, why don't we gather all of them up, put them in an arena somewhere, and let them do whatever they do? I guarantee you, neither one of them will bust a grape. You want to know why? Because it's about control. It is about control. But the sad thing about it is that you're going to have one food that's going to take it over to the next level, because you have some folk, they're dedicated like that. And see, when he begins to spew things like that, he don't know when that one person is going to just go over the edge. And before you know it, first of all, a race war in America would be the end of this republic. Mm-hmm. The last thing we need is a race war, because the only person to win is the government.
Well, that's the whole idea. That's exactly the whole idea behind, I believe, what this administration and, quite frankly, the left and a lot of those on the right are going along with too. Because right now they're just trying to stay in power. That's really, they don't care about the country anymore.
I want to know what Farrakhan would have to gain after spewing something like this. I mean, because he has 7 to 8 homes. I mean, if the economy collapsed, then the contributions will stop coming in. What do he have to gain? Unless they made a side deal. I mean, we know the Obama administration, they're good with making side deals with, terrorist groups.
Well, I don't understand, because it's only because they have this one thing they've been fighting for all their life in their eyes, and that's to stay in power. And they don't realize that, eventually, what are you going to be, the king of nothing? It's insane. What does the black community think about Donald Trump? Is he resonating at all with the black community?
That I'm not for sure of Donna, but I'll tell you one thing. Blacks love that television show that Donald Trump has.
Yep.
And to be quite frankly, out of all of the conservative Republicans that are the ones that calling themselves conservative Republicans, out of all of them, I believe Donald Trump is probably the only one that can actually get a huge number of votes in the black community.
I said that to Don. Have you seen his wife?
Yep.
I mean, really? You're right. Okay.
Lonnie or whatever.
Yeah, this is his second wife. His first wife was nothing to sneeze at either. But he's a very successful man too, and to me, he resonates with the Baptists. He doesn't drink. He doesn't smoke. He's never actually, done drugs or drank or smoke, which is amazing. And his family, his kids are highly successful.
Yes. His background is really clean, and his background is so clean. When he do something, he'll just tell you, "Yeah, I did it." Next, and people they like that. It's almost like folks are so tired of the word life politicians, till they're falling for the. Now, I don't think he's going to win, but they're falling for it. I mean, he's so far ahead of them. No one's really catching up.
But it might be a bit of the Kardashian effect because of the television show. That's the only thing I can think of.
That's exactly what it is.
This is a Cowboy Logic Alert. Yes, honey?
Yes, we've got another update on the gross vehicle weight of Kim Kardashian's butt. Edward Cage, she has weighed in now at 219.7 pounds. Back to you, Donna.
Oh, my gosh. There's never
Edward,
a dull moment with him.
On a serious note here, have you heard any of the rioting? Have you heard from any of the people that participated in the riots in Ferguson that have acknowledged or understand that they are standing and rioting side by side with communists, and that is who is primarily funding this?
Yeah, George Soros.
Not a single one. The sad thing about that is that they don't realize what Ferguson about. They think that Ferguson is about a little black boy named Mike Brown that was shot by the police.
Yeah.
That is farthest from the truth. Ferguson is about maintaining control. In Ferguson, it's just at the time of Mike Brown's shooting, you had the city was predominantly controlled by white Republicans. But it's not like white Republicans came in and just took it. They came in. Why? Because people went out and they voted them in. You had 6% of the registered African-American voters in Ferguson actually came out and voted. But on the other side, you only have 12% of the registered white voters went out and voted. It doubled, but it was enough to keep them in there. And when all of this happened, liberals found a way to, we can sweep that whole area. Not only will we sweep St. Louis, we'll sweep all of the counties around St. Louis except West County in St. Louis, where the predominantly middle class to upper class people live at. And there's nothing but a few of them counties left. So we'll sweep all of St. Louis, all of the St. Louis County. We're going to sweep Kansas City and the rest of the rural America. We don't care. Rural Missouri. We don't care how they vote. Why? Because we have Kansas City and St. Louis. That is what that was about. And then at the end of the day, they went out and they got interim everything. They got a new interim chief of police that's black.
Yeah, I saw that. They kicked out the other guy. Yeah, the white chief of police was forced to resign. I mean, you really are at ground zero for what's going on as far as this is concerned. And then, of course, it spilled into Baltimore. And no one talks about Chicago because Rahm Emanuel is, Obama's buddy. And so we can't talk about Chicago, but Chicago's horrible. I mean, Chicago's really bad as far as every single weekend. There's at least 3 to 5 murders and usually 20 to 30 shootings. No one says anything at all.
Chicago is so bad, I don't think no one knows how to deal with it. And it is my understanding into dealing with guys like them gangs, if they want to be gangs, then we ought to send our own gang in there.
Yeah. Well, look at what's happening also but look at New York, okay? You've got de Blasio in there, Comrade de Blasio, who's going to be like David Dinkins. I mean, everything police stinks, everything to the left is good. And we've had a couple shootings in New Jersey, in Jersey City, which is just across the river from New York City, and also in New York City where cops sitting in their cars have just been assassinated, quite frankly. And no, Obama says nothing. Absolutely nothing. Well, he's still on vacation with the one percenters, but that's besides the point.
Well, this is because of the whole anti-cop thing. Everybody hates cops right now. And I think a lot of that was fueled on right after Ferguson. Notice that how the president got up there. First of all, it didn't start with the president. Let me back it up. I don't want to put the first thing. First, it started with the governor of Missouri throwing his officers up under the bus during the riots.
Yep.
And then the president jumped on board and threw all the cops in the country up under the bus. So now you have a whole group of Americans that think that, oh, my God, cops are bad. So now let us go out and have some type of vindication against police officers. And that's not going to solve anything.
No.
Because I'm telling you, when you take police officers out of anything, then you have chaos.
And that's what Saul Alinsky wanted. That's what President Obama grew up learning about. You create chaos and the government becomes, swoops in like the knight in shining armor and everybody says, oh, please save us. And that's what's happening, unfortunately. I mean, Martin O'Malley, this guy we were talking about earlier, who's running for president, and he was the mayor of Baltimore, and I believe he was the governor, too. Was he the governor? I think he was, yeah. Okay, so he gets up there and he actually said, all lives matter, and he gets lambasted for it. I mean, just totally lambasted to the point where he had to walk it back. I mean, this is insanity. If you're a cop, the last thing on earth you're going to do is your job right now, because I want to be able to go home to my family. No one talks about the guy that shot Michael Brown had just about an hour before given mouth-to-mouth to a black child who couldn't breathe and saved its life. No one talks about that. No one talks about how, there was another guy, I believe, in this latest round in St. Louis, and the father said, oh, he didn't have a gun. Well, the video tape showed he did indeed have a gun. He was Mike Brown's friend, and he was shot. Then there was, unfortunately, as tensions escalated, another shooting, and indeed that kid was shot in the back. What do you expect is going to happen? This kid was apparently having a problem there, and he was shot in the back.
Here in St. Well, first of all, the police was serving a search warrant. Mm-hmm. That house that they was about to raid was known for drugs and guns and other illegal activities. I get so tired of people going to bat for criminals, but they won't go to bat for their own community. These are the same people that walk past these houses that God knows what goes on in there, where we know that the criminal activity goes on there, but we don't do nothing about it. But the time the police go in there and take care of the problem for them in a different manner, all of a sudden, everybody want to start crying and screaming and hollering out police brutality. Well, if you don't want the police in your community, then you do it. See, I have to understand, too, that the police is not there to be my guardian. They're not there to protect me and everything. They're not going to be there every time something goes on. Them people that live on that block is responsible for their own neighborhood. And all it takes is a phone call, or all it takes is all of the men of that community. I'm talking about the men, not a bunch of baby daddies or somebody that come in and get a little kitty cat and then go to the other. I'm talking about the people of that community should have marched on that door, knocked on the door and said, we're not going to have this no more. We don't care about where you go, what goes on, but you're going to have to stop her or else, oh, well.
Yeah. I don't understand why the churches aren't getting on board with this more. I mean, I understand that, these pastors don't want to be lambasted, but if you're trying to save your flock, this is getting to be the lowest common denominator here. I mean, the black community did its best after slavery was abolished up into the 1960s, before you had welfare and all those other things to fall back on for both the black and the white community. The people had the freedom to make something of themselves. I mean, Frederick Douglass was a perfect example. You're a slave and you die essentially a multimillionaire. I mean, that's just amazing. And yet as soon as Lyndon Johnson came in with the Great Society, I mean, it's just like when you go to the zoo. Don't feed the animals because they're going to be dependent on it. You know, it's just human nature. It's any nature. If you can be dependent on it, you're not going to be self-reliant. And after generation after generation after generation, it's gotten so bad now, people don't even understand where things are coming from. And that's scary.
But it's by design. Back in the 60s, Lyndon B. Johnson, and I won't use the disgusting words that came out of that man's mouth.
He said, I had them niggas voting Democrats for 200 years. See, this is something that I was looking at something on television. It was Justin Bieber had a roast. And Snoop Dogg got up there and said the N-word in front of a whole room full of white people. He said, nigga, 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 nigga. He said it 200 times probably.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We've enjoyed being on the air with you now for a little over 2.5 years, almost 3 years, and the lights are going out.
Every time you said it, my eyes were blinking.
Well, this is a word. This is a word that the left always uses against the right, in whether it's conservative black males or whether it's conservative whites. This is a word that they always decide to use when it best fits them. But they always say, well, we need to put this word out. When are you going to put it out? Or are you going to put it out the dictionary when we want to use it? Or when the rappers or when the comedians or when someone want to get on television and say it's okay because the left is using it?
Well, there have been two presidents who have said it. There have been two presidents who have been known to say it, and those would be Johnson and Obama.
Yes, Obama said
but here's what I want to get across to all the listeners. Lyndon B. Johnson despised black people.
Yeah, he was a racist.
He hated black people. He voted against every single civil rights bill when he was a senator. He despised blacks. And he figured out a way to use them to perpetuate the success of the Democrat Party.
As did the founder of Planned Parenthood. Margaret Sanger actually said that this was a way to eradicate the black race. And no one talks about that. And she's got a bust in the Smithsonian. They want to take, all of the Jefferson and all these memorials down. They could have been the Confederate flag and the stars and bars. But, her bust is still in the Smithsonian.
Yeah. Karen Stanger, she started a program called the Negro Project back in 1939, and what she did is that she infiltrated the black communities by using black pastors, by paying them a little something. But she went out and she picked very charismatic pastors to go into the church and make it seem like abortion is like some form of birth control. With 80% of all of the clinics in predominantly minority community, you would think Black Lives Matter would be there every single day, but you don't.
No.
Since 1973, we've had between 16 and 17 million black babies aborted. Mm-hmm. But Black Lives Matter, that is such a bunch of crop that's being controlled by George Soros, and most blacks don't even know who George Soros is.
No, but they know who the Koch brothers are on the right. They know if you say George Soros is the left's version of the Koch brothers, maybe they'd wake up. But you said something about charismatic speakers like Louis Farrakhan. Well, when I worked in New York City, whenever Al Sharpton, I worked always on the weekends, and Al Sharpton always made himself available on the weekends, as did Charles Schumer. We called called Charles Schumer lens lice because anytime a weekend rolled around, Charles Schumer would make sure he'd get on New York television. But Al Sharpton, same thing. And that's what really made him, because it gave the mainstream media something to do. It's really sad, but that's really what it boils down to.
It has nothing to do with actually going out and helping the black community. When you look at the Emancipation Proclamation, blacks realize that this is our opportunity to do for ourselves. And they embraced that. They went out and they educated themselves. They went out and educated themselves with the help of other whites. See, civil rights was not just a black thing. See, in my ignorance and my stupidity, I thought that at one point. I thought Dr. Martin Luther King was just the man who gave that speech that I did not understand until I had to read it 50,000 times to understand it. I thought Frederick Douglass was just the old gray-haired dude that they put up on the wall in February. I didn't know anything, and when I found out that they were Republicans, I was like, I think I've been bamboozled and hoodwinked. The black community has been bamboozled and hoodwinked from the Democratic Party for the last 50 or 60 years. And until, first of all, we pull away from it. Yeah. And not only have they been used, they've been used so much that they started to accept that they're being used. They started to accept. It's kind of like what the lady who just freed all the slaves. Wow, brain freeze. What's her name? Freed all the slaves. Oh my God.
Rosa Parks?
Brain freeze. No. God, I can't think of the lady name, but she said that I would have freed 1,000 more slaves if they would have realized that they were slaves.
Oh, okay. I don't know who that is, but that makes sense.
A lot of blacks don't realize that they're in slavery. They don't realize that they're in bondage, and the people that they say that they're out, that are there to help them are the ones that put them back in slavery, and that's the Democratic Party. I didn't become a conservative Republican because I wanted help. I became a conservative Republican because I wanted you to leave me alone so I can help myself.
Exactly.
That's what we all
want. The handouts.
Yep.
That's what I want. And I realized that it gave me much gratitude. It made me be able to feel like a man when I'm looking at my wife and looking at my kids that I went out and provided for you. That is why I joined the Republican cause. It had nothing to do with what they gonna do for me. See, this is what I hear from the left. Oh, well, what's them rich white people gonna do for you? Nothing. I don't want them to do nothing for me but leave me alone and let me go out and achieve my piece of the American dream. But I don't want somebody else to give me. If you give me all of the ingredients to make the pie, you can't say that you made the pie. It's kind of like when you get a car from, it's made here in the United States. No, the wheels was made someplace else. The engine was someplace else. It was assembled in the United States, but it wasn't made. I want to be able, when my kids walk in the house, I wanted them to be able to look at me with pride and love me and say, my dad, this is my dad, this is my father, this is not my baby daddy, or this is not the dude that come get me on weekends. See, the Democratic Party does. Blacks do not realize how devastating the Democratic Party has been to them.
You're correct.
And these black pastors...
Yeah. You want to talk about the rich white men, you got to look at the left. Yeah. I mean, the left is much richer, believe it or not, than those on the right and in the government. And that's where this is coming from. But Edward Cage, we only have a couple minutes left. You're a granddaddy now, and that's what it's all about. Tell me what you said just before we went on the air about making sure your granddaughter and any grandchildren you have are not going to go to public school.
Public schools have gotten so bad, and when I first laid eyes on my granddaughter, I was overcome with emotions, and I'm 6 feet, 6'1", 295 pounds. The last thing I could have ever done was break down and cry. I couldn't believe myself. But I have made it my goal in life is to make sure that she does not step not one foot in public schools. Because first of all, I understand that how bad it was when I was growing up and my kids was in school. I can imagine what it's going to be like with the new Common Core, springing up all over the country. Hopefully we can stop that. But
And my kids, too.
And even,
my kids were the last generation that actually wrote cursive. Don's kids don't even write cursive. Don's kids can't even, really know how to fill anything out. And the critical thinking is terrible. You have to help them. But Edward Cage, you said you're 6'6", what, 300 pounds, 295 pounds?
No, 6'1". Yes, ma'am.
6'1",
yes, ma'am.
295 pounds. This is a Cowboy Logic alert.
And we've got another Kim Kardashian butt gross vehicle weight update. Edward Cage, Kim Kardashian's butt has surpassed your entire weight, sir. She is now, just her butt, gross vehicle weight, 309 pounds. That's 309 pounds.
Oh, man.
Back to you, Donna.
We got 1 minute left. It's really sad, though, because the celebrity status might be what actually puts Donald Trump over the top, which at this point I'm thinking might not be a bad thing. But Edward Cage, we want to thank you so much for joining us here on Cowboy Logic Radio. It's always eye-opening. Keep up the good work. You are essentially at ground zero, living in the St. Louis area and Ferguson. You know so well what's going on. Anytime you have something you need to tell us, please give us a call. Anything you're involved with, we really look forward to it. Congratulations on being a granddaddy now. And again, keep up the great work out there in St. Louis. We love you. Edward Cage, thanks for joining us on Cowboy Logic Radio.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You've been listening to Cowboy Logic Radio. Unfiltered, politically incorrect, common sense. Join us midnight to 2 a.m., late Tuesday night into early Wednesday morning. Find us on the web at cowboylogic.us. And join our Facebook group, Cowboy Logic Restoring America Forum. That's Cowboy Logic Radio. Unfiltered, politically incorrect, common sense.